Welcome to the Uncontested podcast, talking Oklahoma City Thunder basketball and the wider NBA.
Sam Presti said, lower the hatch, load up the cannon, and get the tank out rolling.
Catch new episodes after each Thunder game and every Sunday night.
This is a house of learning doctors.
Follow the Uncontested on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to catch new content as it drops.
I mean, a cat and a dog connected together?
This is Lou Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up? Welcome to the Uncontested podcast. Coming to you live Sunday, December 12th, 9 p.m. Central Time, as always on Sundays. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. I've got my boy Taylor Peterson along for the ride tonight.
Chiefs looked great. That was nice, but the Thunder, not so much.
Not so much. We've got Kamiar Marabian, fresh off his first semester for a PhD.
I'm exhausted and
dead inside.
Yeah, a little bit dead inside, but I'm just chilling. I watched the Thunder get their doors blown off, and that's a great way to start my semester break.
There you go. We've also got JD Silva making the magic happen.
Holy Santa Claus shit.
What's up?
Right on keel. We are proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and the official podcast of SI Thunder. Shout out to everyone joining us on the stream tonight. If you haven't joined us on the stream before, highly encourage you to join us Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Come hang out with us. Have a good time. Get your questions, your comments in. We'd love to chat with you. If you're listening to the podcast version, thanks for downloading our show, man. We appreciate it. The Thunder did play a game tonight, as has been mentioned already. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks, the Luka-less Dallas Mavericks, 103-84. So we're going to break that one down for you. I was going to talk about Alexei Pokashevsky, Darius Baisley, some tank updates, some around the association. We've got a whole show scheduled for you guys tonight. But, gentlemen, let's start with this Thunder-Dallas game. Dallas comes in without Luka. At halftime, the Thunder lose Lou Dort. And the Thunder just struggled to offensively make anything happen in the second half, get obliterated in the paint and on the glass. I think that's really the difference to the game. Taylor, what, if anything, do you take away from this one?
Oh, man. After a week where I thought the Thunder, especially rebounding from that 73-point loss to the Grizzlies, they came out with a lot of intensity and effort on both ends of the floor. Across the entire roster, there was other guys stepping up besides Shea and Lou, but you also saw Shea get into a groove, which helped a ton, and obviously Lou as well. So the first half happens. Obviously Shea is struggling. The Mavericks are doing what a lot of teams have done against OKC, and they're packing the paint. Often you'd see Shea drive and have three defenders on him, kick out to an open shooter, and the other, his teammates weren't making the Mavs pay. And then you lose Lou right before halftime with. It's kind of weird. Tim Hardaway Jr. actually kind of had a similar thing happen, I guess like the quarter before, where they both just kind of like non-contact ankle twist. And so the Thunder come out and say that Lou is out the rest of the game with a left ankle sprain. So it's something to keep an eye on. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. But when you take away that, another main scorer for OKC this season, consistently the second best scorer on the team, and you have Shea, who has another off night, isn't able to get that step back three going and can't really finish around the length and size of the Mavericks. Nobody else was there to make the Mavericks pay. Nobody was there to step up in the scoring absence of Lou Dort. Now, on the defensive end, I think there's a lot to be left desired there as well.
Yeah, it felt like whenever Lou went out was when. That's an interesting comment. Whenever Lou went out, it felt like that's when Jalen Brunson really got loose, and it kind of spelled negativity for the Thunder. I want to talk about Shea for a second, though. Even though he's really struggled shooting the three-point ball this season, only 1 of 5 again tonight. He's sub 30% for the year, 6 of 15 from the floor. But I thought he had a lot of really nice passes and really nice moves to the basket where he created a lot of space on like step backs and really had the mid-range jumper going tonight, which I thought was really impressive. Silva, what are your thoughts on Shea tonight?
I like the mentality that he has while he's out there right now. I think kind of, especially after Lou went out, I think he knows that he has to do it. He has to have a really high usage, which is, I don't think it's going to be the future with his team. So he's just kind of trying shit. And trying shit looks a lot better earlier in the season than it does right now for Shea. Like you were talking about, the step back three is it's just not going in right now.
Which is weird because like the footwork is good. He's squared up.
Yeah.
The
Shot
stroke looks good. There's
good. It looks
rotation on the
good.
ball. Just it
Yeah.
doesn't go in the basket.
Yeah, most of his shots look good. It's just not falling for him right now.
And
I'm
they're
not concerned.
they're getting like halfway down and rattling out. It's very frustrating. I'm sure it's very frustrating for him.
Yeah. No, I'm not too concerned with the future of Shea. I hope Lou Dort can get back, because that's just going to be even more attention or even more eyes looking at Shea at all times. It would help if Josh Giddey could get his three going, but he had a rough night offensively, I think.
3 of 14 from the 4 for Giddey. Just for comparison's sake, this is something that I would like to see. Well, I say that. I mean, Shea is, to your point, Jacob, Shea is playing within the offense, trying to get others involved. He's not trying to just force things, but still only 15 shot attempts. For comparison's sake, you robbed Josh Giddey, Silva, 3 of 14 from the 4. Only one less shot attempt than Shea without Lou, especially there in the second half. It would have been, I don't know. There's a part of me that would like to see Shea be a little more aggressive, but that, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. You can't eat your cake and have it too, kind of thing, when, you want Shea to play within the offense as well and try and get others involved. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword there.
How can you guys come on in here and say, like, oh, Shea's inefficient, he did this, he did that, while also like rooting for the tank? That's what I don't understand. What I also don't understand is, like, hopefully Lou Dort can get back. Well, if you want to get Chet, or if you want to get Boncaro or whatever else, then you might be hoping that Lou stays out an extended period of time. And so, like, when we talk about, Joseph in the chat says SGA misses too many open players and tried to get his own. No, quite literally, nobody else on this team can actually like shoot the ball well and create their own shot, unless your name is Trey Mann, who he actually played okay tonight. And he says stupid comment time. So you've got your answer right there. You don't need to read the rest of that statement. And so, like, what I don't get is why people would criticize Shea and like, oh, he's so inefficient. Well, there's a reason why he's so inefficient. Everybody has looked at this team and said, okay, well, that guy's new. That guy's new. That guy can't hit a jump shot. That guy can't hit a jump shot. Pretty much anybody not named Shea or Mike Muscala can't hit a damn jump shot. So, like, I'm tired of the people who are like, well, they just struggled. Well, no crap, they struggled. They're tanking. They're at the bottom of the standings. So, like, what are you expecting? Are you expecting other players to step up and start winning? Of course, like last year, people were all in, or some people were all in on the tank, and some people were on the competitive side of the tank. And then, like, once the losing became like unbearable, some people started to get upset. But I'm happy because that means the tickets are like $2 now. But also, like, you have this continuation of this Thunder tanking, because you're going to be tanking this year, you're going to be tanking next year, and maybe after that, you're fine. And so people need to stop griping and complaining about it. And like, I don't get like, oh, he's inefficient. Well, he's inefficient because he has 3 eyeballs on him. People are literally ball watching because they know nobody else on the Thunder can hit a shot. And so I'm just sick of it. That's my piece.
Yeah, whenever Shea has an incredible ability to get past the initial line of defense so easily. But if you freeze the frame right there in your TV, there are 3 more defenders that have at least 1 foot in the lane right at the free throw line, like anxiously awaiting for him to get to that spot. And so it makes it like incredibly difficult because, yeah, it's that whole idea of gravity, and there is no gravity pulling people out and opening up that lane. Kamir, one guy that you and I have actually talked about quite a bit that I've been pretty pleased with this week that I wanted to get, because you and I texted a lot during the Lakers game about him. Trey Mann seems to have found something out. Limited minutes tonight. I wonder how much of that was due to he did kind of tweak his ankle a little bit there in the first half, and came out for a while. But just your thoughts on what Trey has been able to do and kind of what you hope to see from him as this year and the next couple of years for him progress.
I mean, it's pretty clear he's got an offensive handle. He understands where he wants to go with the ball. Don't forget, he was a point guard when he came out of college. He wasn't a shooting guard. So he knows how to conduct an offense. He knows, he can dribble pretty well. He's another ball handler on the court. That's what you want for OKC. When OKC was at its best, they had several ball handlers on the court. Like, for example, when CP3 was with OKC, you had CP3, you had Shea, you had Dort, you had who else am I missing? Dennis Schroeder. You could throw all those dudes, and then like Gallinari at the 5, he had a small ball, and you had at least three guys on the court at the same time that could handle the ball and actually finish pretty well. And now you have realistically on this team, I mean, Trey Mann, he's got a little bit of a handle, and he can get up. His whole deal coming out of college was he was able to get separation, get his own jump shot, but also 3-point shooting. And we haven't really necessarily seen consistent 3-point shooting. Again, that means like in practice and before the season started, he was having his shot blocked, and so that meant he needed to take a quicker release. You look at Josh Giddey, of course, he needs to tighten his handle because that's where a lot of teams are getting him. And so I mentioned, like, hey, can Trey Mann turn to something like Derek White? Can Trey Mann turn to something that is kind of like a combo guard where he's got a little bit of a handle? He can play defense, especially if he bulks up a little bit more. Because he's 6'5", he doesn't look 6'5" on the court because he's so skinny.
He looked 6'5" on that dunk the other night, though.
Yeah, and so he's got hops. He can get up, and so I mean, I'm pretty high on him. I'm really excited to see what he can do in the future. He's a guy that I think will stay in the NBA for a minute. He clearly belongs on the floor. He's been playing defense, not at a high level, but at a high level, considering that he was a mid-round pick in the first rounder, not in the lottery. So he's definitely taking that defense to heart and just facilitating more offense. But at the same time, you saw this offense. You saw them make really stupid mistakes. You saw them make really stupid passes, etc., because they're a young team.
Yeah, I think Trey has such a unique game, and I mentioned it tonight on Twitter. Like, his ability to create separation is like upper tier NBA elite. Like, he can lose nearly anybody on that crossover step back. And I think the shot will definitely come around. We know he can shoot it. It's just a matter of finding that consistency. And he's a rookie, it'll come around eventually. But the ceiling, because he has those skills and those tools, like, place him in just a completely different tier than guys like Teo Maladon and Ty Jerome.
Agreed.
Like, he's one of the higher ceiling guys on the team because of his creation, especially his self-creation ability. That's like something special that not a lot of players have. And if they have it and they can really find it, it can be special. I think the Derek White comp is interesting. I mentioned Gary Trent Jr. the other night, just as far as like the flamethrower shooting. I've heard some people talk like CJ McCollum level comps. Now, will he ever be like as good as CJ? I don't think so. But the style of play is somewhat similar. Secondary ball handler, creator, shooter off the dribble type of guy.
Seth Curry.
God, if he reached that level of shooting, that's like,
right.
Yeah.
And he has a little more separation. No, I thought Royce phrased this really well. He had a tweet today, Royce Young, right after Trey Mann came in the game almost immediately there towards the end of the first quarter and had just that nasty crossover step back three where he created just ridiculous amounts of separation and then drained the 3-point shot. Roy said Trey Mann does something every game now that really makes you think he can be a real good player. And I think that's true. Like, what we're seeing is more and more flashes, particularly on the offensive end, but he's been playing really good defense as well. There's some flashes of that tonight also, and just more confidence, I think, on both ends of the floor. He's more confident in his abilities against, he's kind of adjusting to the new talent level in the NBA. And it's been really impressive to kind of see him improve in real time the more and more minutes he's getting. To your point, Jacob, like, I would love to see him be getting more minutes. For example, tonight, I think it would have been a great opportunity for Trey to get those starting minutes in the second half over
Teo.
Teo, and lose absence with his injury, but that's kind of, to Comir's point earlier, kind of what the season is all about. And, I think a season, even next season, potentially, but specifically 2 seasons from now, like Trey will be getting those kind of minutes. You won't be having to explore Teo Maladone and some of these other guys like that.
I wish somebody would have asked Coach post game about why he chose to start Teo in that second half when Lou was out over Trey. I wonder if Trey did tweak that ankle a little much and they try to get him in the second half and get some run.
That's a good point also.
He was just hurting if they thought Teo was going to be a better defender on Brunson. I'm not really sure what the thought process was there. I would have liked to hear them and get an answer from that. So, but it's I think there's a lot there. Silva, do you have anything to add on Trey Mann?
No, I just keep thinking about how Teo started the second half.
I was very upset with that. But yeah, Trey just keeps showing stuff that kind of makes me excited, and I want to see more and more and more. One guy I also wanted to talk about, Kamiar mentioned him just a little bit ago. Mike Muscala is the, like, I don't know, that I tweeted out a meme tonight that I said, is this the white Steph Curry? Just I think I'll look it up real quick, but he's shooting something like 45% from 3 this season. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. He comes in and the pick and pop between him and any of the guards is so good.
Lethal, almost automatic. Yeah.
This season from 3, he is 43% on 4 attempts a game.
Yeah, not bad. I made a joke last year that, like, would you rather have Mike Muscala or Kevin Love right now? He's shooting like that.
It's a fair point.
Yeah,
it's a really fair point.
He has been a flamethrower for sure.
When he first came to OKC that first season, he is small for a center in terms of frame, not so much height, and maybe a little bit of height too. But he did struggle battling down low some, specifically on the defensive end of the floor. And I feel like he's really improved over the past couple of seasons leading up to this season. He's really able to battle down low. For example, in that first quarter, when we'll have to talk about Moses Brown. But when Moses Brown came in and was kind of tearing up JRE, Favors provided a little bit of a stopgap, but then you're able to throw in Muskie. I thought he did a good job battling down low as well. And he's contesting shots on the defensive end of the floor, has become a bit of a rim protector. So I think that's it's another guy just like Kenrich. It's going to be really interesting, especially as we head into this week when more and more players from other teams are available to be traded again. And heading into the trade deadline, like, are there going to be offers too good to pass up for guys like Muscala and Kenrich, or does Presti just not care and view them as untradeable because they want to be in OKC and that's what matters to him?
It's going to be interesting. Kamiar, speaking of trades, and I know we're still talking about this Dallas game, Moses Brown, potential trade target for the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I don't care. Yeah, if you put somebody on the court, like, for example, JRE is like, what, 6'8" on a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put somebody on the court that is roughly, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches taller than him, typically you're gonna have a good game. Why do we all think that he dominated the G League so much? And so, like, the people, like, during this game on Twitter and wherever else, like, oh, OKC threw away this and they got Trey Mann instead. What a bunch of goobers. And it's like, in the reality of the situation, Moses Brown is not going to move the needle for your team at all. Did he kill OKC? Yeah. Well, so did 18 other teams, or so did teams 18 other times this year.
And a lot of OKC.
Yeah, and a lot of the wins for OKC came from behind double digits to where they should probably only have won 4 games. And so the whole Moses Brown thing is overblown. And I don't remember who said that, like, he was worth a first round pick. Was it Bill Simmons? Because that guy's a jackass. I don't know who it was. But like, there's a lot of different talking heads that actually don't watch the games, that score watch, and people are like, "Oh, he's doing well. OKC shouldn't have given him up," despite the fact that he has a low basketball IQ and all he does is park his ass in the paint and just hopes to get rebounds. That's literally all he does, and that's not indicative of the modern NBA game. Like, you look at the modern NBA game, go look at what the Warriors are doing. Go look at what Go look at what the Suns are doing. That's the modern NBA. Having some guy that has cinder blocks for feet or his feet that are trapped in concrete buckets, that's not the modern NBA. And so for if you're still like on the Moses Brown train, especially after this game, like, dude, you don't understand basketball that
That
well.
ain't it, Chief.
I'm sorry. That
The
ain't, it
man's
ain't
a
it.
statue.
I just looked it up. Moses Brown has 5 inches and 25 pounds on Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
That'll do.
That's like adding another 5-year-old to Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
I got to jump on with our friends over at the Mav Step Back podcast, another Blue Wire podcast in Dallas with Dalton Trigg, and over on the Playback app. Stay tuned, Thunder fans, because this is something we're going to look into. It's really cool. Basically, you get to like watch the live stream of the game, and then we kind of do what we're doing now, and we have like little circles down the bottom corner, and we all can talk and stuff, kind of like break down the game as it's happening. It was a lot of fun. But a lot of Mavs fans were excited tonight. And look, like this is a fan base that kind of felt beaten down, especially with Luka not being completely healthy, Luka being out of shape, et cetera, et cetera.
Having Jason Kidd as their coach.
Right. I got asked about that. That was fun. But one bright spot for them tonight was Moses Brown and Green. They're second, third year player now?
I think Green's in his second year. Yeah.
Second year. And they both played well and contributed. And I just made the comment. It was like, Moses Brown played this role for us as well last season, especially in the latter half of the season when Shea was out, Al Horford sitting, and Moses Brown provided some fun sparks for us fans to cheer for, but not really a player I think that's going to, like Kamiar mentioned, translate to wins.
There's a reason he's bouncing around the league.
Right. And the reason he did what he did tonight against a team like OKC where he should have done that, just based off his size and athletic ability. So I don't know.
He's a massive human being. I was surprised that whenever he was in, there was multiple times where he was in at the same time Moses Brown was in. Sorry, Moses Brown was in the same time Mike Muscala was in.
Yep.
And I just kept asking myself, why are you not just running pick and roll, pick and pop at that guy over and over and over? Because as soon as his man sets a screen, he sinks back to about
nobody to guard
5 feet in front of the rim and just stands there. You could get Muscala just wide open 3 after wide open 3 after wide open 3 because Moses Brown just cannot defend the pick and roll. And kind of back to what Kamiar was saying about cinder blocks for feet. If you can't move your feet in the pick and roll, you're in massive trouble in today's NBA. And I was kind of surprised the Thunder didn't just attack that, especially the Thunder, knowing who Moses Brown is, watching him play all last season. I did think it was fun whenever he and Poku got matched up, though, because it's like the same height, but a 60-pound difference. And those two guys tag teamed the G League bubble last year as teammates and then going at each other in this game tonight as opponents, I thought was kind of funny. So you guys have any more thoughts on this game tonight? The Thunder kept it close for most of the game. It was 5 to 10-point game until that fourth quarter where the Thunder just could not score any points.
Yep.
And the Mavs just kind of boat raced them there at the end, and OKC just could never close the gap.
I will mention Lou Dort. Again, he only played the first half. He had 10 points and was tied for the third highest scorer on the team after playing only one half of basketball. Was on pace, I think, to have probably another 20-point game. But with tonight's game and another made 3, he now has 40 games, I believe, on the dot of consecutive games with a 3-pointer made. And that is the second highest streak in the NBA behind only Steph Curry. Now,
it's a wild stat.
It's a wild stat, and it makes sense in a way. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's become like this knockdown 3-point shooter and 3-and-D guy. But when you take that into consideration with the leap in his 3-point percentage and the multiple 3-pointers he's making within games, at one point he had a streak of I want to say it was 7 or more games where he had made more than one 3-pointer in a game. It's been really fun to see that leap from Lou. And I hope that a season like this, where he is getting more opportunity than he would maybe on like a championship contending or a playoff contending team on the offensive end of the floor, it's just going to pay dividends down the road. So just thought I'd mention it.
If you look at the breakdown for Lou this season, in October, shot 22% from 3.
Oof.
Yeah. In November, he shot 34% from 3. In December, he is currently shooting 38% from three. So you're seeing it slowly start
Now
to
we're
crawl back
talking.
up. He's back up to about 34% on the season on like 7 attempts a game. So it's definitely volume shooting. And the stroke is coming around. So the 40 games in a row is pretty impressive. But this is kind of just who Lou has become at this point.
Yep.
You know, he hits
Which
3
is
of 8,
huge.
2 of
That's
8,
big.
3 of 8 threes a night, scores you 15 to 20 points, and is going to defend the best player on the opposing team every night unless it's the center.
Yep.
It's been pretty impressive stuff. So some other guys I want to talk about and their performance tonight, but also just their performance really over the past week that I think is interesting. Let's start with, and Silva, if you have some stats queued up here, let's start with Darius Baisley. The roller coaster continues with this guy. The fall from the top, like I guess I don't ride roller coasters. They make me like motion sick, but at the start, the roller coaster like climbs up and you got that anticipation. It gets to the top, then you free fall. The free fall has been going for a while for Darius Baisley.
Yes, it has.
And then tonight, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 50% from 3. Silva, what has he done the rest of this week?
Yeah, if you start out, we can try to ignore the Memphis game, but the dude was essentially asleep during that entire game. That was terrible.
You mean the team?
Yeah,
You mean the state?
Yeah, the next
True.
2 games were pretty good. Against Detroit, he put up 7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks, which is like what you would want from him on a night-to-night basis. And then against Toronto, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. Slightly worse game after that against the Lakers. 9 points, 6 or 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, no blocks. And then tonight, 3 more blocks. So I think he's starting with his defense. Do you feel like he's reaching some level of consistency on that end? I think blocks are like a big way he's impacting the team.
Calmier Taylor, I'll let you start off on this one.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. Me and Jake argued about this for a minute the other day because he hates Darius Baisley on this team. And if you think about it, like just look at Bays from like from an adolescent psychology point of view. The man does
Okay, Mr. Doctor.
the man does best when he's not thinking and just doing. So, for example, if he's catching fire 3, or if he catches in the dunker spot, for the most part, when he's like not thinking and just actively doing, he's actually pretty okay in the offensive end as well and takes the shots that he needs to. But when he's actively thinking too much, especially on the offensive end, it's very apparent that he has no idea what he's doing. Going one-on-one against Kristaps and a couple other guys in the paint, like, what are you doing? That's where he had too much time to think instead of just passing it back out to Shea or Giddey or, Trey Mann. On defense, he's taken a step up. And so one of the reasons why me and Jake started arguing about this the other day was like, okay, well, his offense is terrible, but his defense has been fantastic and he's taken a step up here. And so we care about how good somebody was a defender 2 years ago and even defended Ferg, which is like almost blasphemy at this point because I'd rather have Bays than Ferg, if we're being quite honest. And so we're going to defend Ferg despite the fact that he has no offensive bone in his body. But we're going to immediately ostracize Bays, which makes no sense at all. Despite the fact, if Bays is guarding Kristaps, which blew my mind. I don't know why he's guarding Kristaps.
Not a lot of options.
At the same time, you don't have many options. Muscala came in a couple times and did some stuff, but of course, this team is built to lose. They are built to tank. That's quite literally what they're doing. And so Bays, is he good again? Offensively, no. Will he ever be good on offense? Probably not. Will he be a rotation player in the NBA one day? Maybe. Is he going to be a guy that you can throw in there on defense and he'll be maybe reliable because he takes that to heart? Because him and Mark have had heart-to-heart conversations about knowing your role. And clearly he's understood his role as far as, okay, well, obviously I'm not the best offensive player, and he obviously knows that. And so becoming one of the better defensive players on the court and trying to go out and guard the best offensive player on the court that is a wing and not somebody that's a guard like somebody like Lou would guard, then that's where you've got him. He's found his niche. And so that's where you want to put him. Now, does that warrant him starting? Obviously not. But we'll see where it goes from there.
Term.
So, like, is he good again? No. Was he ever good to begin with? No. Will he be good one day? Maybe. Is he going to be a role player one day? Quite possibly. Is he ever going to be a starter in the NBA? No. So, like, I don't like it, the whole like Bays it's the entire OKC team with the exception of Shea and maybe Lou Dort. Everybody else is, what are they? So like
True.
we could do you could see if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitter or wherever else you're watching this on Facebook, you can see like it says Darius Baisley stock report right beneath my face. You could do stock report on every damn player on this team with the exception of Shea and still like have a decent conversation. So like, is he good again? No, it's the young team. They're the youngest team in the NBA, dude.
Yeah.
I like what you said about like Baisley being at his best when he's not overthinking, when he's just playing within the flow of the offense and knows his role. I think the epitome of that would have been the very beginning of the game. He knocks down two great spot up threes. I forget who kicked out to him. Two threes within the motion of the offense. Really kind of kickstarted the Thunder's offense.
He had the first 8 points of the game.
First 8 point. Wow. So it was even more than those first three. But then he goes like, and Jacob, you mentioned this in our Slack, you and Kamiar, and I think all of us were talking about it. He like goes down and then has like some ISO play in the next possession where he is trying to drive on Kristaps Porzingis and just gets his shit stuffed because he's got like Moses Brown and KP and Lord knows who else down.
I love it, but it's like he hits a catch and shoot three. He finishes like an easy layup in transition. He hits another catch and shoot three. And it's like me eating Oreos. It's like, I know I shouldn't do another one. I know I shouldn't go in again. But it's like he just can't help himself. He's like, all right, this time I'm going to double jab step, spin out of it, drive to the rim, and try to cut across the lane.
And you're just like, posterize somebody.
Yeah,
it's like you're not going to do that.
He almost would have been one of the dunks of the year for the Thunder off of a giddy pass on an alley-oop that he just
missed it.
He just doinked it.
Ugh, that was awful.
I think that point is like right on the head where when he doesn't think and he can be a play finisher, it's not bad. But whenever he always tries to do a little more than he should, tries to ISO a little too much.
Yep.
And at that point, he doesn't have that ability. And maybe he's starting to learn that, and that's nice. But I'm on record. I did the Toronto post game where he was like 7 of 8 and played really well. And I said, he had that 5-game stretch earlier this season. If he is still being consistent come mid-January, mid-February, I will be very happy. But right now, I'm not willing to say like, oh, he's turned a corner or anything like that, just because we've had this conversation way too many times.
Right. We'll gladly eat our crow. And just to your all's points, I think, so I pulled up his last 5 games, his averages per game over this last 5-game stretch, which essentially is this week, plus 2 from the week prior. 1.6 blocks per game and 1.4 steals per game kind of goes to what Silva was talking about. His increased role on the defensive end of the floor has been impressive. He is making an impact on that side. I mean, obviously there's other defensive stats as well, but the blocks stood out to Silva, and that just kind of proves what Silva was talking about. He is, I think his timing on in protection around the rim is continuing to improve. 8.8 points on 6.2 field goal attempts, which isn't like fantastic, but within that span, he's shooting 54.8% from the floor. He is attempting 3 3-pointers a game, which I think is probably about perfect for him, and shooting 40% from the floor. 40% from 3 from the floor during that stretch. It gets a little more interesting when you look at like his per 36, but just from a per game standpoint, I think that kind of backs up what we all have been talking about during this Baisley segment.
Yeah. In watching the Toronto game the other night, I had the thought, I think in Baisley's mind, Baisley can be Pascal Siakam, the big long wing that can dribble the ball and handle and do everything.
Yep.
But in reality, that's not who he's going to be if he's going to have an NBA career. And again, I'll double down on this because I've said it multiple times. And Kamiar, you hit it on the head earlier. His defense has been good. Like I have been very pleased with the way he defends. He is really grinding on that end. He's working his ass off. He had LeBron the other night. He had KP tonight. I just mentioned Pascal Siakam against Toronto. He is doing a very good job defensively, and he's like realizing what players are trying to do against him in game and trying to take those things away. And it's been really nice. And defensively, he's been solid. You just hope he finds that consistency offensively. And Silva mentioned here your input on this part. I just worry that his leash is running out because you have another 4 draft picks coming up in June. And then the next season, you have another 3 draft picks. Now, we all assume they're going to start consolidating at some point. But at some point in time, you have to start opening up playing time for these younger guys that have higher ceilings.
Or trading for somebody that fits better with the guys that are home run hits, right?
Yeah,
Hits.
At some point, if Baisley doesn't put it together and really show you something nice, like you've got to rotate guys out because you got new bodies coming in, right?
Yeah, at most you can't keep starting Bays. So you have to see if he's okay with coming off the bench and playing with that second unit. Because a lot of the guys that OKC could draft can't play next to Bays, I don't think, right? Like, yeah, I mean, Paolo, if you draft Paolo, you're not going to play him next to Bays.
Yeah, if you draft Jabari, you're not playing him next to Bays. It's a lot of big wings, kind of at the top of this upcoming draft, and at the rate the Thunder are going, they're going to end up with another top 5, top 6 pick.
Yeah. So it's like, do you want to extend this guy just going to play on your bench?
Yeah, it becomes an interesting conundrum. Well, speaking of guys playing off the bench that are wings that you have to make a decision on at some point, let's talk about Poku, who for the past 2 games, you want to talk about small sample size, and we can't make a determination on if they've turned a corner or not. Against the Lakers the other night and then against Dallas tonight, a much more... I'm interested if you guys agree with this. A much more assertive Poku that everyone in the world thought that first quarter tonight he missed that 3 by about 12 feet when it was actually a pass to Mike Muscala.
Yes, a last
he had
pass.
2 shot pass type things. Just looks a little more aggressive and confident out there. Shot still isn't falling, but I've liked some of the things offensively that I've seen from him over the past week or so. Am I right to get my hopes up? I mean, Poku is like my child, and I know there's certain people that listen to this podcast that are probably going to throw their phone out the window at this point of the podcast. But I kind of like with Trey Mann, I see these flashes of things that other guys can't do. And it's like, man, if he can find consistency with that, and he's still 19 years old, 20 years old, whatever. Like he's still, I think, young. 15th youngest guy in the league or whatever. There's something there. I just hope that he can at some point find it.
You guys want to hear a sad stat related to Poku, but mainly involves the team as a whole. Poku led all players for this team in rebounds tonight with 9 rebounds.
Good for
that's
him.
not bad. What do you have? Like 3 points, 9
is...
rebounds, 4 assists tonight or something like that?
Well,
4 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists on 1 of 5 shooting.
A guy that's like 7'1" and has like a 7'3" wingspan should be pulling down rebounds.
Kind of like Moses Brown.
Very true.
Hey,
like,
he out-rebounded Moses Brown tonight. Somebody had to say it.
And so, like, Alexei Pokusevski is like what? A two months older than Josh Giddey. That's it.
Mm-hmm. He's 4 months younger than Chet Holmgren. Younger.
Disgusting.
Darius Baisley, for those of you that don't know, is actually like only 4 months older than JRE. And so people want to talk about like, oh man, JRE is so good. Well, he also is fundamentally good because he went to Villanova. Jay Wright, by the way, Jay Wright and Villanova, they got crushed today.
They did.
Who they play?
Awesome. Baylor, and they look
Baylor, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, but
So
so
did OU.
people want to be like, oh, well, JRE, it's okay. He makes the mistakes because he's young, but then don't apply that to Darius Baisley because he's been in the league for how many years. So there's that. Then you've got Poku, who, like, again, stock report. Oh, okay. Let's talk about stock reports of everybody under the age of 23, right? Or, yeah, that would be Aaron Wiggins, Dort, Baisley, Krejci, JRE, Trey Mann, Teo, Alexi, and Josh Giddey. Literally, you could do a stock report for everybody all the damn time. And so, talking about Alexei Pokusevski, does he do things that are exciting? Yeah. Does he still not use his length at all on defense sometimes? Also, yeah. Is his shot still really, really, really flat? Yeah, sometimes, although there is a little bit more arc in it, you can see. Is he still like kind of like pushing the shot instead of like putting like, I guess, shooting the shard? Yeah, shooting the shard. That's what the OKC did against Memphis the other day. Shooting a shot at the apex of his jump shot where it's like a smooth release and not something that's kind of like a more forward release. It's more streaky. So as far as Poku goes, he shows flashes of like brilliance because like he's got the behind the back passes and he's really fun to watch.
The back pass
but at the
JRE
same
today.
time, the very next play, he's going to do something really stupid and be very frustrating. At the same time, the very next play, he's going to be a guy that swats your shot and then, pushes it up the court. So you never know what you're going to get with these guys, especially a guy that's still 19 years old. What is it? JRE just legally became able to drink like a month ago.
Yeah.
Trey Mann, Teo, Alexi, and Josh Giddey, even though Josh Giddey is from Australia and their drinking age is younger than 21. You got 4 guys. Beer. You've got 2 guys that can't drink for 2 years. Yeah, 2 guys that can't drink for 1 year, and then you've got a slew of guys that just now are able to actually consume alcohol legally anyways. And so, like, again, you come back to the youth of this team, and to judge the youth of this team is just so funny to me because, again, what are fans expecting? Like, what do you want from this team? You should go to the games expecting to lose, and if they win, cool. But at the same time, also not cool because if you want to make this team better as a small market,
and not
there's
have
only
to endure this
one way you can get that stuff. And so is OKC going to select every draft pick ever for the rest of however many years? No, I wish they shouldn't, and I highly doubt they do. And that's why the whole Bill Simmons of the world and all the people that are suggesting, well, other owners are going to start to, ramp up the price on players because Sam Presti owns so many draft picks, can get the hell out of here because that's not how the NBA works.
That's not how the world works.
Yeah. Like that's not how anything works. When you have capital, you use it. And Sam Presti is not Danny Ainge where you're just going to not use your picks and then be like 2 months later, well, we tried to use them, but we didn't do anything. And so like, so the whole thing about Poku, he's up and down, just like everybody else on this damn roster should be up and down.
Yeah,
I mean,
just like we talked about Baisley.
Derek Favors and Mike Muscala are the only guys that are not really up and down. Now, Derek Favors is not doing himself any Derek Favors is not doing himself any favors because he's not being played as much and his talents are not going to be on display. I just found out Mike Muscala and I's birthdays are 2 days apart, and that's fun.
That's big time.
For real, me and Mike were born 2 days apart because he was born July 1st, 91, and I was born
Bob,
July 3rd,
so you guys can do a
91.
joint.
Yeah, I'll hit up Bob, see if we can get a joint birthday going.
Let's do that. And so everybody on this team is like you don't know what you're gonna get, and so.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Fans need to temper their expectations. So, like you mentioned, Kenrich, everybody on this podcast, I've listened to the podcast when I've been busy, like doing other things, like especially like doctoral work and all that other stuff. Like Kenrich, like Jacob said, like Taylor said, I think even Silva said, would be likely in the 10-man rotation for a lot of other teams in the NBA. So, like, Mike Muscala, Derek Favors, and Kenrich Williams are really the only ones that you're not doing a stock report on because you know what you're getting from those guys. The other guys, including Shea, who is now figuring out, on a bad team with players that can't make a bucket unless your name is Mike Muscala. Typically, you're going to dribble into double teams, or you're just going to be straight up hit with the zone that's not going to allow you to penetrate at all. So when people are like, "Man, Shea's he needs to find his teammates more," really? That you want to see Bays shoot 1 of 9 from 3? Is that what you want? That's what you're looking for. You want to see Josh Giddey's jump shot where he has like his feet are like in a scissor motion where he has one foot in front of the other instead of actually having his feet planted on the ground. That's what you want to see. Or do you want to see Shea take over a game? I don't know. Because this is where Shea becomes and makes his medal as a superstar as far as finding ways to get past those double teams and finding ways to enable himself to become a better player, whether it's getting stronger, making his jump shot a lot better, and all that other stuff. And so, it's GRE is better than Bays. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that, Joseph. I think a lot of people would suggest that he's fundamentally better than Baisley. I don't know what you're getting at. So yes, I'm the one talking. They're very good. You can say my name and type it instead of actually subtweeting me, but actually on a live stream. So that's my soapbox.
Mark mentioned tonight the fact that, and Silva, I want to get your opinions on Poku here in just a second. Mark mentioned tonight, you're talking about this is where Shea cuts his teeth to learn to be a superstar. I've made the comparison to this is Devin Booker on the Horrible Sons now, right? And then in a few years is when he kind of emerges into what the Suns are now, right? Devin Booker had to suffer on those bad teams and learn to play and be the man in order to come out on the other side. There's a little bit of that with Shea right now. And Mark mentioned tonight that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Shea is the first line on every scouting report for whenever teams play against Oklahoma City. He's probably more like the first page, right? But then there's also that stat that's been floating around. There is no player this season that experiences more double teams than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He is facing more doubles than KD, than Harden, than Giannis, than Booker, than Steph, than anyone. And so I think that's also really telling. And you have to expect him to struggle with that, but there's beauty in that struggle because that's something that he can grow from. Silva, Poku flashes.
Yeah, Poku's just fun at this point. We're going to lose it almost every game. Like you always say, 1 win a week is all we're going to get. It's all we can expect.
We got that Raptors game. It was fun. It was glorious.
Exactly.
The Raptors game was one of the funnest games I've had this season.
We got stumped by the Lakers, and we kind of got stumped by the Mavs.
Yeah, I just want to see weird shit happen on the basketball court, and Poku does that. Trey Mann does that, so I want to see them get more than 20 minutes a game every night. Poku is not getting more than 20 minutes every night.
Yeah,
he did tonight, I think, but
tonight
more.
Let me ask you this:
it's 23. Yeah.
A lot of people have asked me recently, why isn't Poku getting G League burn if he's not getting a ton of NBA minutes, kind of like what we saw with Trey Mann? I don't have an answer to that. I don't know.
Either.
Silva, what's your thoughts there? Do you think Poku should get G League burn, or should he continue playing his 15 to 18 minutes a night with the Thunder?
I kind of think the Thunder have some weird plan for him also. Poku's done with his G League development on our calendar, so therefore he's just going to get NBA minutes and that's it. But I thought Mark would be using the G League more than he currently is, with more players.
Especially when you mentioned it.
Yeah.
You mentioned what you're saying, Silva.
Yeah. So I do think it would help him, especially with his shot, because it doesn't look good. It looks bad.
And speaking of the shot, Kalmir mentioned how it kind of leans into that 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but whenever Poku takes that, he catches at the perimeter and he takes that dribble or two inside, and then hits that little pull-up J. That one looks a lot more fluid, like a step or two, which a Poku step is like a goddamn half mile.
It's a leap. But to your point,
it looks a lot smoother, and so I think that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I think he's getting his legs more into those in that kind of shot. You see him drop his hips more. Talk about JRE dropping his hips on the defensive end of the floor when he's guarding some of those perimeter guys, like the play against James Harden when he was guarding Harden, and was it Bradley Beal was the other one? I can't remember now. Regardless, Poku's getting his hips more, his legs more into that shot when he's taking a couple dribbles in, compared to catch and shoot where he just kind of like Kamiar mentioned, just kind of flings it up all up her body. I think that's why you see a lot of those shots, especially tonight, go kind of long. He's kind of heaving it. He needs to have a lot more fluidity and get more legs into the shot. That was one thing I was going to mention as well, was Poku's got to be able, and especially in these limited minutes that he's getting in the role that he's playing this season, he's got to be able to hit those open shots more frequently that guards like Shea, Lou, Giddey are creating for him. And the other thing, I was going to mention the same thing, Jacob. I tweeted this out on Saturday about the G League. You don't have to send him down to the G League, on a road trip or something when the Thunder are going to be on the road. But this season, specifically, no G League bubble. The Blue are playing in the same arena as the Thunder. You have nights, the double headers, right, where the Blue are playing in the morning and the Thunder are playing in the evening. Why would you not throw Poku down there? Let him handle the ball more. Just gain some confidence, because we saw what happened. And I was listening to Justin's postgame podcast against the Lakers on Friday, and he mentioned, Poku coming out of the G League bubble last season, the increased confidence, and kind of what that did for the rest of his season and his development last year. I think you could have a similar effect sending him down there again. So it's weird that they have him, especially with the limited minutes too that he's getting. I just find it strange that they kind of have him in this very limited role this year and don't really want him to expand outside of that, and aren't sending him down to the G League to expand his game. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's been a lot of interesting things with Poku. They also have him defending guards most of the time instead of wings, which I kind of find fascinating as well. You'd think he would guard wings more often. So I don't know. We'll see as we move forward, but there's something there. We've talked about it a lot. He struggled this season, obviously, but if he can find that stroke, find that rhythm, I think he does a lot of other things very, very nicely. Last thing I wanted to touch on before we get out of here, because we've gone a lot longer than I expected we would on some of this stuff. We've got to talk about it. It's December 15th is approaching. For those of you who do not know, who listen to the show, December 15th is when the players that were signed this summer become trade eligible and really kicks off trade season. So we are quickly approaching that this coming Wednesday, when most of the NBA will be trade eligible. With that being said, this past week, reports coming out that Indiana may be looking to, I don't think Indiana will tank. Indiana's never tanked, but looking to maybe move off of one of their two bigs and Karis LeVert. We saw Karl Anthony Towns come out and basically just talk about, I hate life and I hate playing in Minnesota and everything sucks and the food doesn't even taste good.
I don't want to be around anymore.
We have reinvigorated talks of Ben Simmons and how the Philadelphia 76ers will need a third team to probably facilitate a trade there. So I'm interested in the first thing that came across with the Indiana news. Oh, the Thunder should go get Miles Turner. Oh, the Thunder should go get Domantas Sabonis.
Bring back Sabonis.
We know how much that front office loves Sabonis.
Yep.
So I wanted to get your guys' opinions on, as the trade season approaches, what should people expect from Oklahoma City? Silva, let's start with you.
I sort of think we could trade a guy like Baze, a guy who might not see playing time next season because of a draft pick that we expect to come in. So a guy like Baze, I could see us trading. I don't see us trading, obviously, any of our rookies this year. I could see us sending Derek Favors out for another a younger big. I'd like for us to trade Teo Maladon, so I don't have to watch him play basketball anymore. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I hope we don't trade Ty Jerome or Kenrich, just because I really like those dudes. I think they could help once we are trying to be successful in the regular season. But I don't expect us to do a ton. No.
Are you willing to give up draft picks to get off of Baze and to get off of Favors, considering that both of them have not played well?
No.
then you are likely not getting off of bays or favors.
Yeah, unless it's like a desperate play, like Milwaukee, who just lost Brook Lopez. If they just like need another big, and they want to trade, I don't know how much Favors is making right now. Maybe they could trade.
I think
like
it's 10 million this year and 10 mil next year.
Yeah,
It's
that's
10
quite a
mil.
bit.
And I think Favors is there partially to mentor some of the younger guys, despite the fact that I don't know, like the way he talks, it's not that great.
He's not Horford, that's for sure.
Yeah. and so when I think of all the guys that are there, there's not a lot of trading chips that OKC has other than simply their draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean,
and their star players that they probably want to hold on to.
Yeah, it's like who are you going to trade? You know, like you're not going to be able to trade Deck. You're not going to trade Watson for like I don't know why is Watson getting minutes at 26 years old? For like I don't understand that.
That's the head scratcher one to me too.
That blows my mind.
Really
I could see just trading Isaiah Roby and a second rounder for nothing, but like I think that part of the reason why Favors is in OKC and then the reason why he finished his career out in OKC is considerably just because OKC has like no big contracts besides Shea's next year, and they need to meet that cap floor. And so that 10 mil goes a long way in doing that. Yeah. As far as the others, I have no idea what to expect. I expect maybe a boring deadline because, again, Sam Presti's has made this clear from the exact start. This is going to be a process, and it's going to be a long process to where it's not just getting into the playoffs. It's we've arrived, not we just got there. And so we need to differentiate between the two because those are two totally different concepts that need to be acknowledged. Getting there and arriving in his concepts, from his perspective, mean totally different things, and people need to acknowledge that.
Trading for a Turner or a Sabonis gets you to that playoff appearance, but to your point, Kamiar, it's not really an arrival unless you consider a first round exit for consecutive years an arrival.
Yeah,
right.
And become the Pacers of the West.
The thing with I love Domantas Sabonis, and I actually think he fits a lot of what they want this team to do: high IQ basketball, moving the ball.
He's 25.
I don't love him more than Banchero or Chet or Dwight Smith or.
If you go get Sabonis now,
2 years from now,
you're drafting at position 12 through 16 for the next 3 years.
Exactly.
And that's not getting you to your ultimate destination. Now, if this was
the issue, that's the issue that Indiana's running into is that they're constantly in the middle. You're in purgatory every single year. So you're not winning, you're not losing, you're getting middle of the road draft picks and hoping something good happens. And that's just not the way it works, especially with Indiana. They're not a destination, so they need to blow it up.
I'm not sure if you guys read that article. I think it was from The Athletic, but just in a nutshell, it sounded like ownership. Like ownership's finally accepting this. Why is the owner accepting this? Well, because he's super old and literally mentioned in the article that he's about to die and won't see the rebuild through. So, unless you can trade for LeBron James, right?
It.
And that's why he's held off on a rebuild.
Yeah. Now, if we were having this conversation 365 days from now, and Jabari Smith or Paulo Banchero or Jaden Ivey is on this team, and another rookie, and we're having this talk about adding Domantas Sabonis, I think it's a very different conversation.
Yeah.
But at this point right now, your best chance to reach that arrival level, to get back not just into I'm competing to be in the play-in, but I'm a perennial Western Conference Finals appearance team, is getting very elite young talent. You're going to get that through the draft. But yeah, it feels like this conversation is like a year or two too early. And I mean, also for people that want Sabonis, again, I love Sabonis. What do you have to trade Indiana right now in this moment to get Domantas Sabonis? Because I think it's Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
I think it's Josh Giddey and picks.
And it's not Dorian picks. Like Dorian picks doesn't cut it.
Domantas Sabonis has made 2 All-Star teams.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trading one of your blue chip pieces to get a guy that's already off his rookie contract that's going to pull you to the middle and prevent you from getting elite young talent because your draft pick won't be good enough. And so
I think
I just don't see it happening.
that's kind of where, I guess, just to kind of answer the question, that's where I see OKC getting involved in trades. I don't see it being a big splashy move. I don't see it being for even a young player that could maybe contribute. I think it's primarily going to be in a way to assist, a bigger trade happening. For example, a Ben Simmons trade, maybe a Miles Turner or a Sabonis trade. And maybe you end up getting like a Marvin Bagley in return, or maybe you just get draft picks in return.
I think getting Marvin Bagley would be fun, but I don't even know if the Thunder are going to trade for a player, even if they're on a rookie contract that's about to hit restricted free agency or extension eligible, because your cap sheet is so clean right now. They probably want to take that into the new CBA and be armed with everything kind of laid before them. Like the table is bare and they get to choose what they want to do.
And I was thinking about that this weekend. Like, I think we probably are in, you get a pick next season, and maybe Apollo or a Chet or whoever it is, Jabari Smith or somebody they pick.
Jabari Smith is growing on me.
I love Jabari Smith, and we need to all of us reach out to Nick and Justin as well. I will be there in January when Auburn plays at Norman. Anyways, all that to say, maybe one of those players that they pick in this upcoming draft end up being so good and blowing our expectations out of the water that Presti does go ahead and push the button next season and starts to trade some of these picks and players to really build a contender. I think that, to Jacob's point, is coming 2 seasons from now. You have a season similar to this one next season, right? You get your draft pick in 2023. It's supposed to be very, very deep in terms of top level talent. And you also have a good idea of the new CBA, new TV contract deal, and you're able to kind of build your team around that.
Yeah, and maybe this is wishful thinking on my part, but let's say you land a top 3 pick this year and you get one of those top 3 guys.
Yep.
And then at this time next year, we're talking about a team that's 5 games above 500 because you have Shea, who's been through the fire. You have Lou, who's been through the fire. You've got second-year Giddey. You've got your rookie that's blowing all expectations, kind of an Evan Mobley type. If at that point the Karl Anthony trade demands start to spike, that's when you can start cashing in chips. That's when you can put the final piece in the puzzle. But you can't start trying to find those final pieces when you don't even know what the damn puzzle looks like. I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
I like cash and I like chips. What's your favorite kind of chips? I'm gonna go Cool Ranch. I'm gonna go Cool Ranch Doritos.
Cool Ranch. I like spicy nacho cheese.
The spicy nacho Doritos are typically my go-to, but I'll eat regular nacho cheese Doritos, Cool Ranch Doritos.
I like Cool Ranch. Yeah.
What about Miss Vicky's jalapeno chip?
That is my number
Those
one.
are like my go-to during lunch because typically they come in those small
Those are
bags. I mean, you
fantastic.
can get them in the big bags, but they're almost always at all sandwich shops or whatever. So I'll get them for lunch a lot.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Love Miss Vicky's.
How do you guys feel about the baked chips?
I go baked
I like
all the
them.
times.
I think the baked Cheetos low key are like better than regular Cheetos.
It's the texture.
agrees.
There's more
good
crisp
texture.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't like the regular just baked Lays, like the regular Lays that are baked. They just taste like cardboard.
But
They
baked
do.
barbecue lays.
Those are good.
Something.
Yeah.
The baked rough cheddar and sour cream ruffles,
Okay.
pretty good.
You lost me. I'm sorry.
Um,
I don't do sour
do
cream.
you guys ever eat Fritos by themselves?
Yeah.
Only in times
I
of
think Fritos are
desperation.
pretty okay.
You could be a psychopath like our co-host Justin and dip them in Cool Whip.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
weird.
Oh, I
Yep.
hate
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I just remembered that.
Okay.
He would if he were here, he would defend himself
Man.
and say it was one time and he was pleasantly surprised,
Yeah.
but still.
No,
I'm out.
that's
Still.
not okay.
I only eat Fritos if the cupboard is bare.
Ugh. Yeah,
Really? Fritos are fantastic. Even though, it's corn chips and stuff like that. But
Like with chili every time.
Yeah, right. Every time.
That's
If you
good.
guys are going just regular potato chips, are you going like Lay's potato chips? Or are you going the ones with the ridges?
Kettle cook. Like Comare mentioned, Little Vicky's.
Oh, the kettle cooked ones
kettle
are.
cooked
They have a
ones are
lot of
regular.
crunch to them. Those are good.
Yep.
I think I'm with you. All right, you got anything else now that we're at the chip talk? Anything else before we get out of here for the evening?
How many?
We got-
What kind of chips do you think Zion eats, and how many bags per sitting?
Speaking
Considering
of
how
that,
much he weighs.
Like
A
y'all,
lot.
y'all thought like I was just under the guise of calling him Fat Julius Randle just because he was a massive Julius
that
Randle.
has aged
But
so well.
like it wasn't
fountain
just the
wine.
fact that he was Fat Julius Randle. That was like partially instrumentally an issue of mine, especially once he comes into the season being way overweight. Like people don't, especially if you're not playing basketball every day or practice, and you might have an off day here or there, but people don't realize even playing pickup once a week, if you're going up there and you're jumping up that high because Zion likes to use his athleticism and you have all that weight coming down on your knees and your feet on the hardwood, it doesn't matter like how many Dr. Scholl's inserts you're going to put in those damn basketball shoes.
You're
He'll
It's
right.
not going to
Anyways.
last.
You're right.
And so like, he needs to go to like Miami and get a change of scenery and drop like 60 pounds to actually be effective. Like,
I'm afraid I don't want to
it's
say
not
this.
good. It's a health
How many
issue.
times have we seen that broken toe, and big men in the NBA and their careers never be the same?
Like, remember when he ripped
and
out of the
knees.
PGs? It's
Mhm.
like,
That's a
bro,
concern.
it's not the
Yep.
PGs, it's you. Like,
Yep.
you need to fix that. And people wanted to blame it on the shoes, like Spike Lee. It's all about the shoes. Like, no, bro, it's about you and 330 pounds and being able to play defensive lineman in the NFL. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, you picked the wrong sport. Come on, Zion.
It's
Like-
insane.
Like, if you,
Also, shout out to Luca coming into camp at 260.
Oh my
Jeez.
gosh, like 3 consecutive years.
That's
I think is
Joel
what
Embiid
Dalton
weight,
told me
man.
tonight.
yeah, he can still, at least he can still ball, you know?
He can still move around without, damaging his
I'm-
feet and knees. Hey, Wednesday night, Thunder play the Pelicans. Speaking of the Pelicans, and I'll be in attendance, and it'll be a little bit of a gap because I have to drive home and then do the post game pod. But there will be a post game pod that night. as
Hey,
well.
there you go.
Sounds fun.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm worried about Zion and
Same.
the future of his career because when he was healthy, 27, 7, and 4. I mean, he was a
Elite.
monster.
Yeah,
I don't think
But
he eats potato
also-
chips. I think he eats like French fries instead of potato chips at all times.
and po' boys.
I
and
don't-
gumbo. And jambalaya.
So all of us here, we're dragging on way too long, but all of us here are like at least somewhat into fitness and like we go to the gym and stuff. So we understand like the amount of calories you have to eat to like lose weight or maintain or gain weight. I don't know what the calorie number for a 6'8", 330 pound, 24-year-old to gain weight is, but it's really damn high.
yeah,
Also, you got to think about, I mean, he's got injuries. He's sidelined. He's not maybe
He can't run.
He can't run. He's not given clearance for activity. So like, what do? You know, like
Yeah,
you
you just
sit
sit
on
he
the
around.
lifts
couch.
weights, upper body, and
And
you eat.
If you're not working with the team nutritionist, then you're gonna gain. And in his case, that's a guy that relies on his athleticism and his explosiveness, especially at a massive size. Like he could honestly be Charles Barkley.
That's
if he
I
wanted-
was about to make that comp.
If he wanted to be, he could be Charles Barkley. If he's
Skinny,
slimmed down,
early career Charles.
yeah, he could
Yeah.
be Charles Barkley if he's slimmed down just a little bit. And
He's built like 60-year-old Charles.
but he has decided, like, and part of it is because of like the injuries that he's gone through, and I understand that, but he hasn't done himself any favors.
Yeah. I hope he can get it right because I feel very strongly right now. And I hate this because I know a lot of New Orleans folks and they deserve to have a good team. But in the Kevin Durant draft, Greg Oden went first. Different injury, back injury, but a high profile guy. Sky was the limit.
True.
Injuries couldn't help him. And the second pick in that draft ended up being the franchise guy in KD. And this is looking the same. Zion, the big man, went 1. Injuries are derailing him. And the guy that went number 2, Ja Morant, is going to be the superstar.
That red beans, rice, and catfish will get you. It's delicious. It's fantastic.
I hope he can be all right. All right, Silva. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a lot in the live stream again, so thanks for hopping on. If you haven't joined the live stream yet, your next opportunity is with Taylor Wednesday night after the Thunder take on the aforementioned New Orleans Pelicans, who do not have Zion with them. That will also be podcasted and dropped on our feed as well. So if you want a good good something to listen to on your drive to work or school or your workout or whatever. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast from to the Uncontested. Drop that 5-star rating. We'll send you some free stickers. You just got to DM me the 5-star rating and your address. I'll mail you some stickers. They're dope. We all have them. We're like 10% cooler because we have them. So get you some stickers right before Christmas. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll be back with you Wednesday night. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.